What's up, everybody, man? Welcome to another episode on MossMode and Friends, man. Of course, I'm your host, Badger. We got your main host over here, Zack, looking like Kimbo Slice today, but you know it's all good, man. Today, man, we're gonna get into, man, very just briefly, game two of the NBA Finals. I think potentially what we expect in game three. It haven't been too much news in sports. You know, everybody in NFL wise is in training, or not training camp, but mini camp. So man, we're gonna focus on the topic of NBA today. If something pops up, we'll speak on. But for the most part, this episode is gonna be about the NBA Finals Game Two, and then what we expect in Game Three.
Yeah. First off, let's talk about game two recap. Uh, the Warriors, who I picked in seven, the way they came out and responded at home after blowing and collapsing in the fourth quarter of game one. I think they responded the way they definitely needed to respond.
Definitely.
Just at home, and I'm the one thing I'm most shocked about that game. Right, we knew the role players gonna come out and play a big part in that game.
Yeah.
Everybody was gonna get more enrolled into the game. The thing I'm most shocked about is how Steph still had another 30-point night.
Yeah.
Like I feel like obviously Boston is the best defending team in the league, and the fact that they still have no answers through the first two games, especially the way he played in game one, then to come back and let him have another 30-point game and shoot the lights out again. That's the most shocking thing. And then obviously, I think the second most shocking thing is just the way that Klay Thompson played in that game as well.
Yeah, but I think alluding to that, obviously it's great to keep, or it's hard to keep a great player like that him down a little bit. So if you look at the stat sheet, man, Steph did have 29-30 in game two. But if you look at everybody else, Andrew Wiggins, I'm still surprised they came out with the win. Surprisingly, if you look at the stat sheet,
Mm,
and if you didn't look at the score, you'd be surprised they even won because besides Steph Curry 29 points, the next highest scoring player scored 12 points. So if you're looking at anything, I'm not sure if this will be the Celtics game plan, or you can think and maybe it will be, is that regardless of what we do, Steph Curry gonna get his. Let's
yeah,
minimize the impact of Wiggins, Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole. Because if Steph score 40 and these other guys don't score anything, for the most part, we'll put ourselves in a good position to win. So maybe that's how they're looking at it. But then again, how many people try to stop Steph Curry? And it's just, it's somewhat like an impossible task. He's just one of them players. Like you can throw two at him, you can throw three at him, but he gonna find a way to get his shot off regardless.
true. I think I like the idea, right? Of okay, we contain Steph as much as we can contain him, right? If he goes off, he goes off. But I don't think Klay Thompson gonna shoot another night like he just had, right?
Yeah,
I don't see that for Klay, right? I alluded to it back in a few episodes ago when I said that it was going to be very interesting to see what Klay can do versus
yeah,
this Boston team because he's not fully healthy. Like everyone knows that. Like
yeah,
he got through the playoffs because every team they played wasn't as athletic, and
yeah.
one and two they weren't this good of a defending team as the Celtics are. So that's really hampered him. Like he can't drive by anyone. I don't know if
Yeah.
anyone is picking up on that. Like he can't drive past anyone off the dribble. He's never really been a great off the dribble player. So it's more magnified now when he can't move and has that explosion to get back by these guys. And then the way they play defense on the threes, the way they close out, every shot that he takes is a difficult shot. Like it's always either a tough mid range fall away or a very good contested three ball. So I think it's really going to be interesting to see how Steve Kerr handles getting Klay Thompson open shots and getting him some easier looks
Yeah.
because I don't know if you have to because I don't know if you have to run him around some screens. He's never been a pick and roll guy, so it's like it's going to be very difficult to see what they can do to get him free because he shot terrible, and now just because of really, I think his athletic ability being hampered from the injuries, not being all the
Yeah.
way healthy, and then he just shot poorly. Like they even kept him. It was a blowout game, game two, and they kept him
Oh,
in
they
the
kept him
game.
in just trying to
Yeah,
find his rhythm.
just to see if he can get something going, and he couldn't get
Yeah.
anything going. He made one
Yeah.
tough mid range shot uh, that looked nice, but after that, it was terrible the whole night.
Yeah.
So I think if they can figure out a way to get Klay going, that opens up the floor for everybody else because
Yeah.
and they stole game. I mean, they didn't steal game two. They did what they were supposed to do. But I think they're gonna steal game three. I think Klay bounces back and has a big
Yeah.
performance. And for him, a big performance right now is just 20 points.
Not even,
Coming
man.
off of game
16,
two.
17. Just just seeing the ball go in the basket. But I think one thing that did help the Boston Celtics was going against the Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals, because stat wise in the regular season, the Heat was the number one 3-pointing team in the NBA. And if you ever notice, whenever, or just before I even get to that point, going back to the bubble in 2020 when the Celtics and the Heat played against each other, if you go back to that series and you watch what Duncan Robinson did to them, it was
Yeah.
almost unreal. So if you and then you look at that next season and even this season, whenever we put Duncan Robinson in the game, they have Jaylen Brown on Duncan Robinson. So they're like, he not the best off the dribble scorer, or he not this and that, but we know what he capable of. So we finna put our best defender on him. Because if you want to keep it honest, Duncan Robinson is not getting off on Jaylen Brown. But tying that back to this point is if you look at the game, Klay Thompson is being guarded by Jaylen Brown, who's faster than Klay. He's more athletic than Klay, and it's only so many it's only so many screens you can run Klay through, because Jaylen Brown is faster, he's quicker, he's
getting around
possibly stronger. So as much screens as you want to run him by, you're doing more harm to Klay than Jaylen Brown, because Jaylen Brown for the most part is healthy. Klay's the one coming off an Achilles injury, a knee injury. So the more running you do with Klay, that plays into the hands of Boston.
Yeah.
But regardless, even if he's not getting stuff off the dribble, he's being guarded by Jaylen Brown. So you're not finna drive by Jaylen Brown. And if you're not being guarded by Jaylen Brown, oh shit, you're getting guarded by Marcus Smart. They got Jason Tatum who sits. He's an undercover guarder. So Boston is just filled with a lot of good defenders.
They
So
just
it will
big and
be
they long.
interesting. Yeah, and then you got somebody like Grant Williams who just comes in the game, and his job
Fake
is not to
Draymond
score
Green.
no points. His job is not to score any points. His job is just to go out there and just go be physical. Just go run through people, get 5 fouls, and come out.
A fake
But
Draymond Green, man.
yeah, they was going at it a little bit, but a point that I want to get to with the game two a little bit, I felt like Boston was more than capable of winning game two. But just from what I noticed, you can say you picked up on it as well. And it was very expected. I seen a lot of it on Twitter when the NBA announced the refs. I think the stat was when the Celtics had that referee, or it was a certain referee in that game, they were 1-6 in the postseason, which was Tony Brothers, or it was some other dude too. But they were being very friendly with that whistle, and that was benefiting Golden State more so. You can allude to the part where Draymond was running people over, and they were calling the people, they called the fouls on Grant Williams, who got ran over by Draymond Green. And then Draymond Green picked up an early tech, and then that next thing that happened with Jaylen Brown when he had his feet in his face, if Draymond Green didn't have that first tech, they definitely would have gave him a tech for that. But so I don't know
he got
how I
lucky on
feel.
that.
I understand it's the finals, and you want your best players to be available. But then again, I feel like you got to have some type of standard where this is what it is. It don't matter if you have one tech. If you have one tech, that's on you to put yourself in a position not to get another tech. But just for him to even put himself in a position to get another technical foul that they didn't end up calling, which ended up playing in their hands, because having Draymond on the floor is beneficial to Golden State. I just felt like the whistle was a little favorite towards Golden State, but they were at home, they were down 1-0, so you can see why the whistle was going their way. But I think throughout all that, I think Boston shouldn't hang their hat too hard on it, because Golden State had a monster third quarter where they outscored Boston by 21 points, and Boston lost by 19. So they literally lost the game in one quarter.
Yeah.
So if you Boston, you did what you were supposed to do. You stole one game and you lost the game in one quarter. So it's not like they went ahead and they dominated us. They just had a quarter where they just busted wide open and we just couldn't return.
Yeah.
So if you Boston, man, you're going back to Boston where you haven't been playing that good. So it'll be interesting to see how they play, because I know Golden State is more than capable of still in one. So I feel like the most important game of the series is game 3, because if Boston protects home court, then they pushed home court series to game 4. And if Golden State steals game 3, then that makes you think like, shit, already
They got way more pressure on them.
Because then all the pressure on the Celtics to win game 4.
Yeah. Definitely going like Boston going back home. They have to win game 3. I feel like a game 3 is a must win for this Boston team, just because in the sense that they're a young squad. They've never been there before, right? They don't really have. I don't think they have any player on that team that I can think of at the top of my head who's ever been in the finals.
No, this everybody first time in the finals.
Yeah, so it's like
even Al Horford, and he the OG.
Yeah, so like This is essentially, I think you have to treat game 3 like a game 7 for Boston.
Yeah.
In the fact that you have to win this game, because if you lose, right, all the pressure's on you to win game 4. And that's too much pressure, I think, for a young ball squad like this. When you put that much pressure on them to make it in a game 4. And Golden State's not gonna come out pressing. They're gonna play ball, they're gonna do what they do, right? And if they win, they win. They're not really
Yeah.
worried about it, because game 5, say the Warriors still, it's 3-1. Game
Now you
5,
going back to game 5
they
in the
playing
Chase
with
Center.
they playing with house money, right? And
Yeah.
then that's the worst place to be in, because I think then the Warriors pull out all the stunts and they blow
Oh
you
yeah.
out like they did in the third quarter, in the first quarter, second quarter, and the third quarter of game
Because they
5,
smell blood in the water.
right? A lot of people picked it, Celtics and Warriors 7. But if that's a possibility, that those two games, if the Warriors come out and they play the type of ball that we know they can play and that they showed in the second and third quarter of game 2, it
Yeah.
could go 5. I don't see it. I think I'm picking the Warriors game 3, in a very, very tight game. I think that Clay responds. That's what I'm banking on. Like, if I'm doing anything, I'm banking on Klay Thompson to show up, perform,
Yeah.
have one of those classic Klay Thompson games, like a game 6 Klay Thompson that we've seen in the
Yeah.
past. That's what I'm banking on. And I think, everyone else just kind of falls in line after that. But they need it from Clay more than they've ever needed him to have a big game in his career, I
Definitely.
think, right now. Because
Yeah.
he can't come out there shooting in a shooting funk, because
Yeah.
I don't believe Marcus Smart is going to come back and have the type of game he had in game 2, where he's no impact in 30 minutes on the court. I don't
Two
see that.
points. Scored
Al
two
Horford
points.
shoots not one shot in game 2 in the first half.
2 points.
Don't see that. Right. So you have to understand the Boston Celtics are going to come out with an offensive game plan, and the Warriors need to be locked and loaded. And Clay can't come out shooting a certain way, because, again, you're on the road. Boston's the home team, and if they attacking the paint early, I'm pretty sure they're gonna get some calls because they're the home team. So
Yeah.
that's how I see that. I think, who you got game 3? Because I got Warriors. I'm going against the grain.
Not even, man. I think the game is still. I feel like game 3 is the biggest game. I was just gonna ask you who you think the most pressure is on in game 3, but
Celtics.
I think answering it for myself, even I feel like it may be both teams. It may be equal pressure, because if you go in state and you mess around and lose game 3, now you had that thing like, oh man,
You
like
got to win
we
game
still
4.
on the road. Now we have to win game 4. So you can
Yeah.
see how it plays both ways. So game 3 might be the biggest game of this whole series, possibly.
Yeah, it's the momentum shifting for sure.
Yeah, because if like you said, if Golden State's still game 3, they're more than capable of still in game 4 again. And then if you take it back to Chase Center up 3-1 in front of your home team, and the way how they lost into against the Cavaliers when they blew that 3-1 lead, no matter how many years go by, that's gonna always be in the back of their head. Like, we had a 3-1 lead, this is not happening again. So I think I think Golden State steals one. I think Boston wins one, because I feel like it's got to be an opportunity for that Game 6 Clay, because Game 6 Clay is like almost that's what he's almost known for.
Yeah.
So I feel like in this series we have to at least have an opportunity where we see that Game 6 and everybody have all eyes on Clay and see how he responds. But all the pressure is on Clay. He's a veteran. He been here before. And somebody like him, they just got to see the ball go through the net one time, 2 times, and then they hot. So
Yeah, true. Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah, we're gonna see for sure. I mean, I like the point you make, because it essentially it is equal pressure. The only reason I say is more pressure on the Celtics, I favor the Celtics to more pressure, is because I believe that the Warriors, like we all know, is the fact the Warriors are a championship team. They've been here many times before. They know how to conduct themselves. That core group has always been there. So I'm leaning towards vets and leadership and knowing these moments. So I'm leaning towards that, and pretty much say experience. But let's move on to possible shortening the season of the NBA. What's your thoughts on that first before I go? Because I don't really have great thoughts on that.
I'm really not a fan of it. The same way I wasn't a fan of the NFL extending the season, just
Yeah.
because it kind of makes the record book. It kind of I don't know, like it makes records like different. Like if somebody breaks a record now, it's just not the same. I feel like once you have something that's set in stone and you've been doing it for X amount of years, and Jordan played in this 82 game series. Kobe played in this 82 game series. Even back in the day, Magic, Larry, all them played in this 82 game series. That's how
Mm-hmm.
you can, like, when people have this argument about who they think is better or who they think was the better in their era, it's hard to compare somebody who played 82 games and somebody that played 58 games. So I feel
Exactly.
like just a reason for like debating and comparing history from generations to generations is not a good thing. Like the same way I felt like in the NFL season when you guys extending that one more game, kind of like the same thing. Like Cooper Cup kind of said it in the way he said it. Like I think he broke a record, but he said it
You
didn't
ain't
really
want it.
feel right that he broke the record because
Yeah.
the other person who did it, they did it in 16 games, and he had an extra game to do it, and it took him the extra game to break the record.
Yep.
So he said in his eyes, he's not the true record holder, even though on paper it says he is. So I'm not sure. I think they do it because of injuries, but I was watching First Take this morning or yesterday, and Stephen A. made a good point. He said it's not like these guys are getting paid $15 an hour to play, man. They getting paid
Salary.
millions of dollars, and they have access to all this type of technology to keep their body up to par, to do all this. And then he said also he brought it up. Everything's about money. He said by shortening the NBA season, you're decreasing revenue
Mm-hmm.
because now you're not having as many games. Now you're not having as many advertisements. Now you're not having as many TV games where you can pull all this money from. And at the end of the day, as much as we want to think this is about the sport and about the players, everything it's
It's
a
a business.
business just like anything else. So the same way that the players want their money, the owners want their money too. So by shortening the season, you taking money out of their pockets, which I don't think anybody likes money being taken out of their pockets.
Yeah. So your point pretty much was going on the fact of, you know, talking about stats and legacies and things like that, which is a great point because that's is the other side of it. Uh, right. Because you start messing, Richard Jefferson alluded to it. He was pretty much he went off on the fact that, you're messing with guys' legacies. You know what I mean? You're doing this, you're doing that. Now, my thing that I don't like about it, the reason I don't like the NBA shortening the season, right? I don't play in the NBA, right?
Yeah,
I didn't love us in the league, in the NFL, making another week, just because our game is so physical, right? You put so much toll on our bodies, and it's extra. Right now in basketball, it's not as physical, right? Guys get hurt still, like any sport. Guys get hurt, but it's not as physical. I think for me, the reason I don't like it is because like we grew up watching all of the Kobe's, the Jordans, the Shaqs, the Allen Iversons, the Dwayne
yeah,
Wades, like dudes who was tough as hell, like Allen Iverson. That's all you have to say. It's Allen Iverson.
yeah,
You've seen how the way he competed. Like dude was literally 6 foot, 180 pounds, if that, right?
yeah,
And going out there and doing everything, playing all 82 games, including the playoffs, leaving it all out there. These dudes play always north of almost 40 minutes a game,
yeah,
like always, right? So from that standpoint, like you said, like I think it adds to the greatness of the old
yeah,
school players. Like if you think,
yeah,
right, I don't really love to go back into 70s basketball. I start like in the 80s, like the mid 80s, then I go down. You think of dudes like Larry and MJ and Magic, like these dudes play every game
yeah,
with way less, right?
yeah. Way
Like
less technology.
with the type of technology that athletes to this day right now got, like cryo, like bro, you understand that Michael Jordan. This is why I say Mike's the greatest, just from a physical standpoint of this right here. The dude would play golf all day, right? Smoke a cigar all day, go gamble.
Yeah,
He ain't getting in no cryo. He ain't getting in no stem. He ain't getting in no, like he didn't have all these things. He didn't have no Normatec boots, no massage guns,
ice tub.
ice tub, and a massage.
Yeah,
He wasn't thinking about, oh, let me make sure I'm drinking my green juice, what I'm putting in my body.
tequila.
Look at here. Mike was that dude off the fact that what he was doing, like think about his body, like all those guys, and they play in a way more physical league.
Yeah,
All they told them, go get you an ice pack, get an ice tub. That's it. They got nothing
yeah,
else. That's it. That's all they had. And Mike is still gonna give you 40 in 82 games. Like he's still gonna give you 40. Like
yeah,
now you got dudes who like load managing. I think Kawhi really was like just started that and made it more big than what it was. Like obviously you had guys who did it before, and things like that. Like, but he took it to a whole nother level, and now it's
Yeah.
to this point where it's almost like it's fine to do it, and you paying these
Yeah.
dudes millions of dollars. Like these dudes not getting $2 million here. No, these dudes getting over $50 million and all guaranteed. So you want to
Yeah.
see if I'm a owner, right, and I'm making an investment, I want to see my investment work essentially.
Yeah.
Right now, I get the point of shortening the game so that way that the NBA has the best product out there, right? You want to see LeBron, you want to see LeBron on the court, you want to see Anthony Davis on the court. Essentially, you can't really stop injuries though. Like injuries is
You can
injuries.
play
Like if it
58 games and still get hurt.
you can play 2 games and you can get hurt.
Yeah.
Like injuries are injuries. Like it's going to happen. Now, can you reduce that number? Yeah, you can reduce, but you can't stop it. If
Yeah.
LeBron's going to get hurt in his 20th season, he's going to get hurt. It doesn't matter how many games he play.
It's
If
inevitable.
if Steph is going to get hurt, he's going to get hurt. Like it's a thing. Like that's just what it is. Like it's already written. Like if he's going to get hurt, you're going to get hurt. You can't really stop it, right? So I don't really love the idea. I really want to see kind of how they shape it, and if it does come to pass, I really want to see how they shape it and how the players, I think, for one, handle it, because it could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. Are you going to see the best product if guys have too much time off, right?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of things that I think are
There's
going
a
to
lot
play
of
into
ins
it.
and buts and ifs.
It's a lot of stuff. So we gonna see kind of how it shakes out. So that's my thoughts on that. I'm not the biggest fan of it.
Yeah, and I know right before we got out this conversation, we got the short end of the stick due to some load managing. I think this when we was in high school, we went to the game when the Heat played the Lakers, expecting Kobe to play,
Yeah.
and then that happened to be one of Kobe rest days when we went to the game and
But I
we
can
didn't
respect
fit
that.
out.
You know why? That was his farewell tour
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So
But yeah,
that
that's
makes
your
sense.
farewell tour. So how you
It
don't play in
makes
Miami, man? You
yeah,
play in
yeah,
Miami, you don't play in Orlando, and then he
y'all
played in
suck
Orlando the next day.
because y'all sucked. Obviously, playing in Orlando was a better game for him. That should tell you
Nah, but
everything
you
you need to
know,
know.
Wade played. That was him in the Wade last showdown. So I think
Yeah.
we was walking in the arena. They were
I
like,
mean, shit.
Jordan Clarkson, woo 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 woo.
Wade probably was low managing. Come on now. At the back end of his career, he probably was low managing somewhere.
Yeah,
Wade
but I
give you
know the thing about load managing is what I think this is what Adam Silver was saying to wrap up a little bit. He was saying I think he preferred if players load manage at home, just due to the fact that when you go on a road game, like when Kobe come to Miami, he only got one game in Miami. He not playing in Miami for the rest of the year. So
Yeah.
for the most part, your fans at home, even if it might not be like maybe the fans
That
out
one,
of town,
yeah.
it just happened in that one game. But for the most part, your home fans have a chance to come see you multiple times, and when you go into these different cities and people spending their hard-earned money to come see you a little bit, I think.
Yeah. And that goes back to the point of kind of seeing how they shape it, right? Like,
Yeah,
like what it's gonna look like and things like that. So, I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see. It's funny that the topic really even came up and that it's a real thing that they're looking at.
Yeah.
Because like you said, it's a business and then the money is a factor into that. And I guess they're okay losing money. And who are we to say that they're okay losing money? Maybe they know another loophole to make more money with less games, right? Like
yeah.
these
Or
guys
maybe
not
they're
just
just
gonna.
saying it just to make the players feel like we're thinking about it, but in reality, they're like, we're not shortening this season. We just want to say it so everybody think we're talking about it, but we know what's going on. Let's just put this out here to say we thinking about it, and after further investigation and thought, no, we're gonna keep it the same. So,
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah,
see.
we're gonna see. We're gonna see, that's for sure. And as we get the details, obviously we'll talk about it right here on the pod. But that's a wrap for us. Appreciate you guys always listening and tuning in, and
Yes, sir.
we love the support. Make sure y'all continue to like our videos on YouTube and continue to like and add us on Apple Pod and Spotify. We out.
Definitely appreciate you guys.